what's your first 2-3 steps, common steps? You got to do this first.
You have to commit to fasting clean. If you're not willing to take the creamer out of your coffee, you're not ready to start fasting, because you're on a low calorie diet if you're doing that. If you wake up in the morning and start sipping coffee with creamer in it, even if it's like grass-fed heavy cream, because you heard you could, you're not fasting. You're having very low levels of calories, and dairy causes insulin response. Dairy is nature's perfect food for the time that mammals are growing the fastest. But I'm not anti-dairy by any means, but during the fast, I am.
You're in your window.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are not willing to fast clean, then don't fast until you're ready, because you're setting yourself up for it to be a lot harder. And I promise you, take the Clean Fast Challenge, fast clean, and give your body time. We call it the 28-day fast start in my community. I have a book named that. And you're going to need to give yourself about 28 days, because your body needs to become fat adapted. You need to deplete the glycogen, which is your stored sugar in your liver. You're going to need to deplete that sufficiently for your body to start getting into fat burning every day. And you're going to need to build up those metabolic adaptations to be able to fast. Interestingly, I know you mentioned you've got the low carb emphasis in what you do, but you know how I said I didn't do well with keto the entire summer of 2014. I lost 0 pounds and I didn't feel satisfied, but I was in ketosis. I had a breath ketone meter. Those you had to plug in way back then. It was one of the old ones, old school. And I knew I was getting into ketosis, but I was eating. I wasn't fasting. I was just eating so much fat. I was making all of my ketones from the fat I was eating. I was not burning any stored fat. But I started intermittent fasting that August, straight from low carb, straight into intermittent fasting. I added carbs back at the same time, but fasting was easier than it had ever been before. And I think it's because I was fat adapted, which you understand being from that community. So I don't think it's an accident that I was able to keep fasting, because I was already fat adapted. And again, I added carbs back in my 5-hour window. That's what I went to at the beginning. And I started losing about 1 pound a week, even with adding carbs back. And I was still getting into ketosis during my daily fast, because I had that ketone breath meter. And I'm like, how is this possible? But now that I understand about the liver and your glycogen and that metabolic switch, reading Dr. Mark Mattson's work has really been helpful. He actually had a paper called Flipping the Metabolic Switch. That was
Mark Mattson,
Mark Mattson. Oh yeah. Dr. Mark Mattson is amazing. He is, in my opinion, one of the premier intermittent fasting experts out there. He worked at Johns Hopkins and he has been an intermittent faster since the 1980s personally. But he wrote that paper, Flipping the Metabolic Switch, that talked about the liver and the glycogen and getting into ketosis and not having to be eating low carb in your window to still get into ketosis during the fast. And I really understood why, because people were like, that's impossible. But no, I can prove it. Here's my meter. You still are going to,
Did he Dr. Mattson, did he write a book, or is this
He did write a book eventually. He's been on my podcast, by the way, Intermittent Fasting Stories, but he wrote that Flipping the Metabolic Switch journal article. Then in 2019, he was asked by, gosh, I can't remember what journal. Was it the Journal of the American JAMA? I can't remember. He wrote a journal article at the request of this major, that's not the journal. It's escaping me right now what journal he was in. But he wrote an article about intermittent fasting, because it was 2019. And doctors were asking, we need some support. We don't know. Our patients are coming in wanting to know about fasting, and we don't know what to tell them. So he wrote this article at the request of the journal to summarize everything we knew about intermittent fasting. And it was all about the health benefits of intermittent fasting, the cardiovascular benefits, the neurological benefits, because his research emphasis was neurological. And after that came out, it was actually really cool. It came out on December 24th of that year. And he made the circuit on all the talk shows talking about it, but it was from the emphasis of health benefits, not losing weight. And so I was still running my Facebook groups. And right after that, we had a lot of new people request to join. And we always asked, why are you joining? And it had always been lose weight. Suddenly it was health benefits.
Yes.
Health benefits. And his book is called, let's see, I've got it over here. The Intermittent Fasting Revolution. He wrote it in maybe 2021, something around there. And I will admit to you, it reads like you're reading a medical journal.
That's fine. I'm used to that.
But it's got great research. So for anybody, if you're looking for something a little easier to digest, delay don't deny. But if you want
That's
to dig
right.
into a research scientist who has written journal articles his whole life, Dr. Mark Mattson's work is what you want.
And it's funny you brought that up about he's in more the neurological, because that's the other thing that's so
Yeah.
cool now that people are doing this and they're keeping their insulin levels low. And again, Dr. Bickman's book, Why We Get Sick, is all about this too. But that we didn't realize how much insulin and high glucose and inflammation is affecting our whole neurological state, our
True. Alzheimer's.
dementia, Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Yes. And then our gut bacteria that's making these neurotransmitters, and those are
Right.
getting all screwed up, and it just cycles over and over. It's amazing where people are still live as long as they can. Our bodies are so amazing. What God's done with us is crazy.
It's true. But lifespan is going down.
And we're going to do what we can to change that.
Absolutely.
'Cause
It's not going to be more drugs. It's not going to be.
No, that's going to be the last thing it is. And I don't even know, a lot of people, they may not even realize it now. Alzheimer's, a lot of the papers you read, they call it type 3 diabetes for that exact reason. And that's why
It's insulin resistance in your brain.
When you are talking to your people on your intermittent fasting stories, I'm sure they come up, I'm sure they're asking about, what am I going to do if I have to go to a party and there's a bunch of food there? Or what do I do if I'm not in my window and I get hungry? What can I eat? What kind of stuff do you tell them in those?
Well, the thing about hunger is not an emergency, and it passes. When you're fat adapted, your body knows where to get fuel. Even a very lean person has thousands of calories of stored energy on their body.
1 pound of fat has 4,000 calories. Think of how many pounds of fat we have. We have
all have
plenty of calories.
Yeah. Even someone who is at a healthy weight has plenty of stored fat. So your body is able to tap into that if you just give it a minute. Once you're fat adapted. Now, again, I'm talking the first 28 days when you're not fat adapted, you're just gonna have to white knuckle it through. Let's say I might have a wave of hunger around 11 in the morning. I don't open my window usually till about 2 or after 2 at some point, but I might have a little wave of hunger at 11 and I'll note it. Interestingly, I don't wear CGM frequently, but I have worn them in the past. I would notice when I would get that morning wave of hunger, that was right when my blood sugar was getting down to 73, 74. And then I'd have that wave of hunger and I picture it as my body saying, all right, if you wanted to send something down, you could.
Yeah.
And of course I don't. And my blood sugar would just stay steady. It didn't just keep going lower and then I would die. No, it would stay steady in that range and the hunger would pass and I would feel better. And then eventually I opened my window when it was time. No big deal. So the hunger passes. It's not an emergency. It doesn't build and get worse. You don't have to carry snacks around in your purse like I used to do. Oh my God, there's hunger. I've got to stop it. When I actually think back to my life before intermittent fasting, I fed every hunger wave that came along.
Oh.
I woke up in the morning and I had breakfast. Then I would go to school and I would have a latte. Then I was hungry and I needed a snack. Then I was hungry and I needed another latte. Oh, by now it's lunchtime and I'm hungry again. So I was trapped on that blood sugar roller coaster and I kept getting hungry. And I had to feed it. It only was using what I was putting in. But now my body's like, hungry. And I'm like, nope, not right now. And my body's fine. And then
don't worry. I know where I could get some food for you.
Hey, body, use some stored fuel, whether it's glycogen from my liver, if some of that needs to go, or whether it's some fat that I ate a little too much fat last night, get some of that where it's been stored away. Our body can do it. As far as the other part of your question, if you've got a party, that's the beautiful part about having an eating window. You shift it around to suit what's going on. I like to think of my daily 5-hour window as something that can slide around. I can move it earlier. I can move it later. But I feel better when I keep to about that window length. Now that I'm in maintenance, one day if there's a brunch and it's at noon and I might have an 8-hour window that day, no big deal. But I don't do that very often. It's even like on Christmas Day, it's funny. We get up and have our family morning Christmas and I definitely begin eating early. Maybe I start eating at 9 or 10 on Christmas Day because I've made cheese and sausage balls that we love that are our family tradition. And then by the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. I've had plenty to eat today. And I'll look back and it's been 8 hours. It felt like I've been eating for a million years and it was 8 hours and I'm done. So it really does just become how you live. And you can't imagine going back to eating all day, every day.
And that's what we tell people. It kind of depends on what food is at the party. If you think you can eat some
Exactly.
healthy things, then that's your window. But if this is like a kid's birthday party and it's all cake and everything, eat before you go. Because
We
if you
call
do,
it window worthy. If it's window worthy.
I
I
like that term.
I've gone to parties before and not known if I was going to eat or not. And because intermittent fasting, you're very empowered to decide what you're
Mhm.
going to do. I'll go to the event, look and see what there is, and say, oh, that looks amazing. That's window worthy. I'm going to open early. Or I'll say, no, this is not window worthy. I don't want to have that. And
Right.
there's no kid's birthday party that's going to have window worthy food.
That's right. And you also the psychological thing, a lot of it is the other thing, like if you get hungry before, first thing we say is get sidetracked. Go do something else. Take your
Go
mind off
busy.
of that, and you will be
Yeah.
amazed at how all of a sudden the hunger was gone. Or go ahead and drink just a little bit of water, or drink some
Yep. Have
decaf
my water.
coffee or something like that. And a lot of no sugar, none of that stuff, just
Yep.
plain bitter coffee. But a lot of times that can handle that also. So we have people do different things like that. When you're in your window and you say carbs, what are you talking about? What would be your standard meal that you would tell
Well,
people?
I'm really more on the plant-based side. I am not plant-based, but I thrive on more and more plants. So I eat beans, real potato, like a whole potato.
Huh,
I do great with starchy carbs, real food carbs, and I
that's
eat less
surprising.
meat. Like I don't eat meat every day.
Really?
Yeah, I don't eat meat every day, but this works really well for me. I eat eggs,
Yep, yep. That
dairy,
that
I'll
that
throw that
surprised
in
me.
there.
I'm surprised you said that,
What?
especially with the potatoes, carbs.
I do great
Um,
with potatoes.
yeah, fruits and vegetables, and that's what we
Also
tell
fruits,
people. If you
I
have
love,
trouble,
yeah, fruits and vegetables. Potatoes work really well for me. And I really understand with bio-individuality, what really changed a lot about what I understood about food and how we're
mhm,
all so different. It was in 2017, and I was working on my second book, Feast Without Fear. I self-published that one as well. I rarely talk about that one because looking back, it's my least written book. It's a little clunky. Like I don't love the way I wrote it, but I was researching, and it was back in the day when we were 2017. Keto was really big, and people would come into the Facebook groups and argue about what you should be eating. And there was a train of thought that unless you're eating keto, intermittent fasting is not going to work for you at all. And I'm like,
oh,
clearly that's not true because I don't eat keto and it works beautifully for me and I do great. So I was researching to figure out, I'm like, surely there's one best way for everyone to eat. And I came across the work of Dr. Aaron Segal. Eran is how you spell his name, Dr. Aaron Segal. And he is an Israeli researcher, I believe. And he had a TED talk. I think it was a TED talk. It was a talk that he was giving. And I found it on YouTube and it was like, what is the best diet for humans?
mhm,
And it was the first time I'd ever heard anyone talk about CGM, I believe, and the glucose monitoring. And they found that people had a personalized glucose response. Like some people would have a crazy glucose response to white bread, where
mhm,
someone else would not.
yeah,
Someone would have a high response to ice cream, but someone else would not. And it has to do with so many personal factors,
mhm,
including your gut microbiome, other things, your genetics. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that's when I learned that the glycemic index was an average. They took 10 people, saw what their blood
oh,
sugar did, and said, that's the number. And I'm like,
yeah,
wait a minute, that could be
yeah,
really different. For you might be like, you might be someone that you have this much response, whereas someone else is that much. So I learned how to really trust my body and how I feel and wearing a CGM several times and just understanding that we're not all going to have the same response. And it
right.
also taught me that really, if you look at every single diet book out there written by somebody that tells you prescriptive, here's what you should eat exactly, I'm like, that's what works best for that author. I'm not going to write a book that says everyone should eat a baked potato every day
Right,
because
right,
for some people, a baked potato is not going to work for you at
right.
all. But for me, it's one of the most satisfying things, and I feel amazing after I eat it. So it's all about figuring out what works for you and trusting. If it's real foods
Right,
and you feel great after you eat it, that's a good sign. It's the
right.
ultra processed foods that don't work for anybody.
That you need, no matter who you are, whether you're
Mhm.
in your window or out of your window, keep man-made food out of your body.
Yeah, but God made that potato,
Yeah,
and I've got
that's
those
right.
Irish roots, so
That's right.
and
And it
my
is.
Irish ancestors were putting butter on there too, so
I do. We put butter on everything.
yeah.
So what are you doing now? What new projects are you working on? Do you
I'm
know?
working
Do
on a
you
new
have
book. I'm not gonna share the title yet because 'cause I'm keeping that one under wraps, but it's gonna be about food, obviously. But
a
it's really about people have lost the connection to real food.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you know about GLP-1s, and everyone
Mhm.
is they've lost their satiety signal because they're eating food that can't possibly provide it. And
That's right.
there's so many reasons why we don't have satiety from this food. Barbara
Mhm.
Rolls has done a lot of good research on that, about what leads to satiety for people. And there's just so much information out there about real food and eating real food. And yet we're choosing these ultra processed foods because they're easy and convenient, the door
Yeah.
dashing and all of that. And if we really start to eat more like our ancestors, like they eat in the blue zones, like people traditionally ate before all of these ultra processed foods, yeah, it takes more effort. Yes, it takes time. We can change just a few things, and the food is so delicious and it's going to satisfy you. And your
Yeah.
body is going to produce what it needs to let you know you've had enough. You
Right.
don't need a drug for that.
And that's where a lot of people do when they start doing intermittent fasting, or even if they go to, say, carnivore or something, they still eat the same food, and or they stop eating that food, but they still have that every 3 hours I'm going to be hungry. Every 3 hours I've got to eat something. So they eat this food, this good food, the healthy meat,
Mhm.
fat, and things that actually keep you full and do affect your satiety center.
Right.
But then 3 hours later, they feel like they need to eat, so they eat again. And so like the first couple of days, they're like, I'm just stuffed all the time. I can't eat all the time. You're not supposed
Your
to be
body is
eating all the
telling you you've
time.
had enough.
So it's like actually a good thing.
And I think it's really telling, the only mammals that
Mhm.
struggle with obesity in the entire world are humans and the animals we feed, because
Yep.
it's not the natural food. There's never been a squirrel out there wondering what diet is best for him.
Right.
Now, I
Yeah.
heard my squirrel influencer, and he said,
I know.
nuts are out.
We are the only animal that has to be told what to eat,
Yeah, exactly.
and we never used to. We never
Because
used to, but
if we just ate what was around us in
yes,
season and
yes,
available, we would be
yes.
fine.
It's exactly right.
But we don't do
And
that.
and when you do that, you find because if you're obese, you gotta be more strict. If
True.
you're pretty
Your
much right where
body's
you
got
need,
problems. Yeah.
so you can have those moments if you go somewhere and you wanna have cake for a birthday or whatever. It's not gonna kill you when you are already where you wanna be, but it's when you're not there that you think, why can they do this? If you just think, as soon as you get down to your goal, you're going to be able to do that too. Because a lot of people think this is the way I am. And like you said, but once you start doing that, you don't want to eat the other way.
It
You
does.
just,
Yeah, it changes you completely. And
yeah.
as far as like the time that it takes in healing your body, I like to use the analogy of walking into a forest, right? So when you walk into a forest, you're in the forest, you walk deeper and deeper into the forest. Think about that as your obesity. You're getting deeper and deeper into your metabolic dysfunction. If you decide you'd like to leave the forest, you don't just bam, you're out of the forest. You got to walk back out of it. And you got to go all the way back out. And so healing your body takes effort,
Yep.
and you have to go back out of that forest. It's not just going to happen instantly.
Right. And people, it is so worth it. If you are on any kind of medication, especially if you're on what we call maintenance meds in the pharmacy
Right.
department, you're taking it every single month. Every single day you're taking this med, you're going to be taking it forever. If you are on that, realize that you do not have to be. You can get off that. Don't just stop it, depending on what the
Right.
med is. Let your doctor know. You don't have to ask for his consent because chances are he's not going to know about nutrition. That's nothing about physicians. I understand exactly where that you just get in your realm and you've studied that. And unless you have a reason to go out, like your own unhealth, which a lot of physicians are extremely unhealthy, just, I forgot where I was going.
Just that we were saying, get off your medications and
Yeah.
talk to, let them know what you're doing. But understand that we're not meant to be sick and
Nope.
unhealthy. Our bodies are meant to, and all this metabolic dysregulation is just based on, we're not supposed to eat 10 times a day. Who eats around the clock? Babies. What are they
Yeah.
doing? Growing really fast. We don't need to do that. Our bodies are not growing.
Yeah.
Now, so we need to keep our insulin low. Newborn babies, they need to eat every few hours. They're storing and growing, and we are not.
And when you start doing this, you find what's bad is this used to be a treat. If you had a dessert back when I was a kid, I was born in 62. When you were young and we had a treat, it was a dessert. And that's all you had. Now you're outside, you're playing, you're running around all day, and then there's a dessert and you make it. Now, people, it's like they don't even have pleasure anymore because
Right.
you can have anything you want anytime. You
Yep.
can eat, if you want to eat cookies all day long, you can eat cookies all day long. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Brownies, all this stuff. And you lose, it's not fun anymore, just something that you do. So you don't even appreciate it. Once you start going on intermittent fasting and you start eating this way, when you do have something like that, I forgot that this is really good. It's more pleasurable.
Yeah, but
Just
you're
to
not gonna
know,
eat a cheap
yeah,
cookie or gross
yeah.
cookie,
No,
a
oh
grocery
god.
store cookie.
Yeah, nothing
No,
with that
you're like,
seed oils and all that in it.
we call it becoming a food snob.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, "Yeah, that cookie is not I'm not eating that one, but that one I'll eat."
Make your own. That's what we
Yeah,
say. If you want a dessert, make it. If you
yeah,
want brownies, fine, make it. Again, keep it in your window and all that with everything else. But if you make it and you just swear, I will not eat that man-made stuff.
right.
And if I want something sweet, I'm going to make it. Bring my family and we all make it together. Make it a
Mhm.
good family fun thing, and you're not going to eat all the time there. So it's not going to be as big a worry as just
I
getting
love
junk food.
black bean brownies. Have you ever had black bean brownies?
No,
They're so good. They're actually I like them better. They're more
really.
satisfying. I'm sure you can imagine. You eat a black bean brownie and you feel like you've had something and they taste delicious. I know it sounds like it might be gross, but they're so
No,
good.
I've
I
never
don't
heard
make
of
them
it.
often though.
I'm like, we've tried so many more foods that we never ate before. I love it. We're discovering all kinds of things.
Love it.
But okay, so that's your new projects, your books. Is there anything, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if they tell them how they can get to become part of your community? That's something we didn't talk about, is the
Yeah.
community.
A community is such an important piece for so many people. They need that daily accountability. They need to be able to check in and ask questions. And so you can find me by going to jenstevens.com. Jen is Gin, like gin and tonic. Stevens has a PH. jenstevens.com. And there's a link there to my community, or you can go straight to jenstevens.com/community and you can join. It's not free. It's very inexpensive for a community like this, though. It's $9.99 a month if you join.
Yeah.
And we found that's a low enough price that anyone who wants to join can join, but it's high enough to keep the trolls away.
Exactly.
People
Which is
who
the
would go on Facebook and cause all sorts of trouble are
oh
not going to
yeah.
pay $9.99 to come in and
Start bad mouthing everybody and
they're not
everything
going
because
to,
their lives are up.
no social media problems. It's just a very lovely community and I'm there every day and the members support one another. And we have members there who eat all styles. We have people who are whole food plant-based. We have people who are carnivore. We have people who are standard American diet. But what
Oh.
we have in common is we are supporting one another as intermittent fasters to figure out what works best for us. And if the only thing you change is intermittent fasting, the rest will come.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to start being a little more choosy about what you're having in your window. That fast food isn't
Right.
going to appeal like it used to. You're going to find yourself craving Brussels sprouts when you've never had them before. So almost universally, we find people do change their taste in food as they become more in tune with what their body needs.
It's funny you said that, just real quick. Do you know where they first, as far as I know, that's kind of the first time that they figured out that the microbiome is what that's what makes you have your cravings for different things?
Yeah.
Have you heard about this, about the fecal transplants?
Oh, yes. I wrote about that in my 2017 book.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Isn't that
did.
crazy?
The lady who had a fecal transplant and then all of a sudden gained a bunch of weight.
And go ahead.
That was one study specifically that I talked about in 2017. She got a fecal transplant from someone who was obese and she was healthy weight. And then all of a sudden she started gaining weight.
Yep. And then the opposites happened also. They
Yeah.
were giving the fecal transplant to these recipients. And once they did, and they were doing it to cure up their inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, with these inflammations. And the recipient started having cravings for the food that the donor ate.
Because
And
the
that's
gut
when they started looking
microbiome
into
is
it. Yeah.
sending you the cravings for what they
Yeah.
like. Exactly.
So if you eat crud, your microbiome is the type that feeds off crud, and it's going to make you crave that. If you
And
eat
you can
healthy food,
absolutely shift your gut by changing what you feed it.
and it goes back to the same thing. And once you do, you can't go back. Once you know it, you can't go back.
It's
It
true.
just,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine becoming obese again. It just doesn't even.
No, because we've got the tools. We know
Yep.
what to do. And I've got my honesty pants.
Yeah.
This summer here, I've been wearing my big floaty dresses, but this morning I had a hair appointment. It's cold in there. So I put on a pair of jeans. I haven't worn jeans for several months. I'm like, oh, they still fit.
Oh, good. Happy